Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and continuing to July in with another Nickelodeon movie review, with our review of the Spongebob Squarepants movie. So, this was the first Nickelodeon movie that was well received from both critics and audiences. Both of them really did enjoy this movie, and yeah, this movie, it is really, really good. When I was a kid, SpongeBob really was my favorite Nickelodeon show. And because, as I said before, I did really enjoy, the first 5 seasons of Rugrats. Rugrats really is my favorite Nickelodeon show ever. And yeah, after, the first movie and, what came along, as I said before, I was, not, it wasn't like I didn't like it anymore. It's just that, yeah, I really wasn't following it as much as I was before. And during that time, when the as the Rugrats episodes with Dill started to come on, that was kind of around the same time that SpongeBob had actually started airing on Nick, and I really did love SpongeBob a lot. I think pretty much everybody agrees that the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob are really just so great. The first 3 seasons of SpongeBob were just so awesome, and it really did make SpongeBob a monster hit for Nickelodeon. The show was just so hilarious. There was just so many hilarious things about SpongeBob. Yes, just the characters were really memorable. There's of course SpongeBob, there's Patrick, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, Sandy, Plankton, Mrs. Puff, Pearl, Larry, and there's Gary, and just it goes on. SpongeBob has just had so many memorable characters, and as I said, first 3 seasons were just so great. It just really did, as I said, make SpongeBob a monster hit. And then they then had this movie. This movie, like I said, it is really, really good. But after this movie, this was when SpongeBob was really starting to go down. After this movie, just SpongeBob really just didn't feel the same. The episodes really were not as great, and not really memorable, and a lot of people have really said that after this movie, the show really did get pretty bad. But I'm actually surprised that SpongeBob is still going on today. This is probably Nickelodeon's longest running show, possibly of all time. I can't really think of Nick show that has really lasted as long as SpongeBob. SpongeBob has been on for over 15 years now. I guess the little kids really do still love the show now. But for any of us that were actually really young when the show first started, we just all agree that the first 3 seasons really were just great, and then afterwards it just really did not, it just really was not the same anymore, and it just really started to go down and take a turn for the worst. So that kind of sucks, and I think that because after this movie, Steve Hillenburg, the creator of the show, had actually left and then put it in the hands of Paul Tibbitt, and he kind of messed it up. Some people have really kind of blamed the show really getting bad since this movie on Paul Tibbitt, and I guess anyone could be to blame for this. Who knows who to blame for what happened with the show after this movie. But this movie, it is just really, really good. I remember because of how much I loved the show at the time, I was just really, really excited for this movie, and I did love the movie. I really would say that this is Nickelodeon's best movie of all time. I remember I said before Good Burger was my favorite Nickelodeon movie, but I think this is their best movie of all time so far. It's just a really, really good movie. I would give this movie 3.5 stars out of 4. This movie, it's not really in connection really with the show. Yeah, I mean, in this movie, like, you have, like, all the voice actors reprising their roles from the show. Oh, there's Tom Kenny as SpongeBob, Bill Fagerbakke as Patrick, Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs, Roger Bumpus as Squidward, Carolyn Lawrence as Sandy. And, yeah, just you. And you have, like, some other people that were kind of like voice supporting characters on the show. Oh, voice people in this movie. You have, like D. Bradley Baker and Laurie Allen, and yeah, people like that. And you also have like some other actors joining in. Also, there's Jeffrey Tambor, Scarlett Johansson, Alec Baldwin, and even an appearance from David Hasselhoff in this movie. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, like I said, the movie doesn't really have much connection to the show. I mean, in like there were some things that they like kind of like you could kind of say were maybe continuity errors or something. That's like what goes on with King Neptune, because obviously like King Neptune is in this movie, but yeah, they act like they never saw him before. I mean, you may remember like in the first season of the show there was an episode where Neptune had actually appeared wanting SpongeBob to be his fry cook in Atlantis, so they had already seen Neptune before or this movie, and yet they try to act like this is the first time they're really seeing Neptune ever, or in that episode never really happened before. So yeah, there's that. And also, of course, like Plankton is the villain in this movie, and yeah, I do like that in this movie they actually do make Plankton seem really evil. Like in the show, there are some times where Plankton can be really evil because yeah, if you've seen the show, you know that Plankton is Mr. Krabs' business rival. Mr. Krabs is obviously a lot more successful, owning the Krusty Krab, and Plankton owns the Chum Bucket across the street, and he really doesn't have any customers at all. And so, obviously, like Plankton, throughout the show, is trying to steal Mr. Krabs' secret formula for the Krabby Patty, and he's unable to do it. And then there are other times in the show where Plankton actually can be like the good guy, where he's not really acting evil at all, and where he really is siding with like SpongeBob and the others like that. So yeah, Plankton, he can be kind of two-faced in the show sometimes, but here in this movie, I mean, he does actually act really villainous, and he actually is really evil. In this movie, he actually does succeed in stealing the Krabby Patty formula, and also, like as I said, this movie's not in connection with the show. Like after like this movie was released, like the show continued, and they tried to act like this movie never happened because Plankton is still trying to go after the secret formula too. So yeah, this movie really doesn't have any connection with the show at all. So kind of wonder why they even bothered making this movie in the first place. Kind of similar to like the other movies that they made that are in connection with the show, like Wild Thornberrys and he's in other ones like that. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, and as I said, Plankton does end up stealing the secret formula in this movie finally, and then he's able to get business at the Chum Bucket from customers, and then he ends up like controlling everybody in Bikini Bottom, and he's trying to rule over it. So yeah, I do like that they actually do make Plankton seem really evil in this movie. Yeah, and yeah, the movie it does have a lot of really some pretty funny scenes in this movie. Which I'll talk about when I get to them here. But yeah, just a really, really good movie, and yeah, I really would say it is Nickelodeon's best movie of all time. Alright, so yeah, let me just get right into it. Alright, so the movie actually opens up with some live action pirates. It's obtaining some treasure, and it turns out that the treasure is actually tickets to see the SpongeBob movie, and then it just has the pirates singing the SpongeBob theme song. And they arrive at a movie theater, and then they take up the first two rows to see the movie. And then, like, we had this like completely over the top like investigation thing going on where SpongeBob is like managing the Krusty Krab, and like Mr. Krabs is like making a big deal, and everybody in Bikini Bottom is making such a big deal because a customer did not have cheese on his Krabby Patty. Yeah, and SpongeBob is just trying to calm the customer down, and then they make it so dramatic for SpongeBob just to place cheese on a Krabby Patty, and then it just turns out that SpongeBob is just dreaming that. And then SpongeBob is really preparing for the opening ceremony of a second Krusty Krab that's just built right next to the original Krusty Krab. And SpongeBob just is really like confident that he's going to be named the manager of the second Krusty Krab. And meanwhile, like Plankton is seeing everybody gathering for the ceremony for the unveiling of the second Krusty Krab, in which the manager will also be named. And Plankton and his computer wife Karen are there, and Plankton is just unhappy that all of his plans to try to steal the secret formula have failed, and Karen points out that Plankton still has one more plan, and his plan Z. And so Plankton decides to try to carry out that plan. Then later on at the ceremony, Mr. Krabs is getting ready to announce the manager for the second Krusty Krab, and of course SpongeBob was really excited because Mr. Krabs was just like telling people like about who the person is, and everything that Mr. Krabs was saying matched SpongeBob, and SpongeBob was just like really anticipating him being named the manager. And then Mr. Krabs then announces Squidward as the new manager of the second Krusty Krab, and he just tells old SpongeBob that Mr. Krabs just feels that Squidward is more mature than SpongeBob, and he just feels that SpongeBob is just a kid and he can't become the manager. And then SpongeBob was just crushed by that, and then he was just like completely breaking down and crying about it. And meanwhile, Plankton was carrying out his plan, and then he ended up heading to King Neptune's castle. And then he ended up stealing King Neptune's crown, and then sending it off to Shell City. And as that's going on, like down at Goofy Goobers, where it's like a SpongeBob and Patrick's favorite restaurant, basically, SpongeBob is still breaking down and just was completely devastated that he wasn't appointed manager. And Patrick eventually arrives, and then both SpongeBob and Patrick just indulge in ice cream sundaes. Then the next morning, King Neptune barges into Krusty Krab 2, and he like suspected Mr. Krabs that was the one that stole his crown. He showed a note that he got from Mr. Krabs saying that he stole the crown. And then Mr. Krabs then had a voicemail from someone from Shell City telling that they got the crown, and that just made it worse. And then, like, Neptune was about to just destroy Mr. Krabs. And then SpongeBob then arrived, and at first he then just criticized Mr. Krabs and just called Mr. Krabs really a jerk for not appointing him the manager. But then after SpongeBob saw that Neptune was going to destroy Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob stopped him from doing it. And then Neptune's daughter Mindy then just told old Neptune that he should give SpongeBob a chance to get the crown back. And so Neptune decided to give SpongeBob the chance, and he was originally gonna give SpongeBob 10 days to get the crown back, and then Patrick was just telling Neptune that SpongeBob could do it sooner than that, and so Neptune and Patrick were just arguing over it, and they just kept taking a day off until it finally got to 6 days, and so then that was the agreement for 6 days. Yes. But in the meantime, until SpongeBob could bring the crown back, Neptune just froze Mr. Krabs. And as Neptune and Mindy were getting ready to leave, Mindy was just telling SpongeBob and Patrick what they need to do in order to get to Shell City. And Shell City was actually a mysterious land that no fish has ever returned from. And Mindy was telling SpongeBob and Patrick what they have to do and what is actually standing in their way. There's a bunch of monsters and also a Cyclops that guards Shell City. Like whenever Mindy would talk to SpongeBob and Patrick, Patrick apparently liked Mindy. In the end, he would just start smiling, like just a really attracted smile. And then SpongeBob and Patrick then took the Patty wagon, as they call it, which was just basically a Krabby Patty car, and drove off to Shell City. And then eventually Plankton ended up stealing the Krabby Patty secret formula, and he brought it over to the Chum Bucket, and then, as I said before, Plankton now started to get business at the Chum Bucket selling Krabby Patties, and he was just telling the news that the reason he is able to make Krabby Patties now is because Mr. Krabs, he said that Mr. Krabs wished for him to continue selling his product or something. And with everybody that had ordered a Krabby Patty at Chum Bucket, yeah, every customer got like a free bucket helmet to wear. Yeah. And eventually, SpongeBob and Patrick lost the Patty wagon from another guy. And then they eventually found their car again, and then it turned out it was in some kind of bar. And then they just tried to come up with distractions to get the key for it back. And after there was a big bar fight, SpongeBob and Patrick were able to sneak away, and then they were able to get the key, and they continued on. And eventually, Squidward saw everybody wearing the bucket helmets, and then Squidward eventually discovered that Plankton was the one behind stealing Neptune's crown and freezing Mr. Krabs so he could get the formula. And then Plankton then activated his helmets that then just trapped everybody's heads inside, and then they had an antenna that poked out of the top of the helmet, and then it didn't just put everybody under Plankton's control. Then at one point, as SpongeBob and Patrick were being chased by another monster, they ended up just jumping out of the car, and then the monster ended up just falling down a trench. Oh, and I should also say, during this whole time also, Plankton revealed that he actually hired a hitman to take out SpongeBob and Patrick, and then it just showed the hitman Dennis. And then just seeing everything in the find clues that showed that SpongeBob and Patrick had been there before. Oh yeah. And then, yeah, as I said, SpongeBob and Patrick then just came across a huge trench. And that was real deep, and the other side of the road was real far away. Yeah, Patrick was just asking where's the road, and then it sounded like the road was just echoing, and it just showed that Patrick just kept saying road. It was road, road, road. And then SpongeBob and Patrick just started to lose confidence in themselves, thinking that they are just kids. And then Mindy came across them again and showed them what was actually going on at Bikini Bottom, and it was now being named Planktopolis, and it showed that everybody in Bikini Bottom was under Plankton's control, including all their friends. There was Squidward, Sandy, Mrs. Puff, and Gary were all under Plankton's control also. SpongeBob and Patrick just were once again upset. knowing that everybody that they knew was under control, and then they just started breaking down and crying. He was trying to calm them down, and at one point, like, they just shot tears from their eyes into each other's mouths. Mindy was just like, ew. And then Mindy just assured them that they were men. She can actually transform them into men. So Mindy just ended up giving them mustaches from grass, and now to make them think that they are now men. And so SpongeBob and Patrick were just confident in themselves that they can do anything now that they're men. And they ended up just going down the trench and walking through it and got to the other side of the road. And eventually Dennis is caught up with them, and then Dennis revealed that he was working for Plankton, and then he pulled off their mustaches and just told them that they weren't real. And Dennis was about to just crush SpongeBob and Patrick by stomping on them with his spiked boots, but then Dennis got stepped on by the Cyclops, which was just really a diver, and then the diver then just grabbed SpongeBob and Patrick and took them off with him. Then SpongeBob and Patrick then found themselves later on in a place with dead fish and just dried out sea creatures all around them. And then the diver eventually placed them underneath a heat lamp, and then SpongeBob and Patrick started to dry out and was basically like slowly dying, really. And SpongeBob and Patrick eventually discovered that where the shop they were at was actually Shell City, and that they saw that the crown was there also. And then they then just realized that they did make it to Shell City, and then both of them shed a tear, and then both of their tears like just went together and formed a heart. And then eventually just SpongeBob and Patrick completely dried out and just transformed into a regular sponge and starfish. But then their tear ended up short-circuiting the lamp, and the smoke from the short circuit, it activated the sprinkler system, and then it revived SpongeBob and Patrick again, and they grabbed the crown, and then the sprinklers then just revived all the other dried out sea creatures also, and then they attacked the diver. And then SpongeBob and Patrick and took the crown, and they tried to head back home, and then they tried to use the wind bag that Mindy gave them to get home, but it ended up just flying away. And then David Hasselhoff then came along, and then he told SpongeBob and Patrick that he can take them back to Bikini Bottom, and so he swam them back, and then it eventually just showed like he was just basically acting like as a speedboat or a jet ski to get them back. And then Neptune arrived, and this was the day where the time was up for SpongeBob, and he was going to execute Mr. Krabs, but Mindy just tried to stall Neptune as much as she could to give SpongeBob and Patrick more time. And then Dennis eventually caught up with SpongeBob and Patrick again, and he tried to get rid of SpongeBob and Patrick again, but Dennis just ended up getting knocked off by a catamaran into the sea, yeah. And then Neptune eventually just locked Mindy outside the Krusty Krab. And then David Hasselhoff then arrived just right above Bikini Bottom, and then he had some kind of system machine in his chest that would blast SpongeBob and Patrick down to Bikini Bottom, and then he blasted them down, and SpongeBob and Patrick arrived in time, and they blocked Neptune's fire to Mr. Krabs. And then they ended up returning with the crown, and as they were celebrating, then Plankton then placed a giant helmet on Neptune, and then activated mind control on him also. And then SpongeBob, Patrick, and Mindy were just cornered by all the creatures that Plankton had under control. And then SpongeBob was then just lecturing that he did what everybody doubted him about. And then SpongeBob said he may be a kid, but he's also something else. And then, yeah, then SpongeBob just basically exploded and just like saying "Goofy Goober Rock," who was like this was performed by Jim Wise, yeah. And SpongeBob was just singing the song, and SpongeBob eventually like just transformed into like a wizard guitarist, and then he was able to just blast all the helmets and free everybody from Plankton's mind control. And then Plankton just then tried to bail, but then everybody outside that was freed then just ran in and just trampled Plankton, and Plankton was just like basically squished, yeah. And Plankton just ended up being arrested in like a really small police vehicle. Yeah. And then, yeah, Neptune then and unfroze Mr. Krabs. It was funny. Like, first he actually transformed Mr. Krabs into a real boy, and he then like made Mr. Krabs normal again. Yeah. And yeah, Mr. Krabs then was gonna then about to appoint SpongeBob manager, but then SpongeBob was just like stopped, and he was like he should look like SpongeBob was just gonna turn down the manager promotion, but then he just said that he was just gonna tell Squidward that his fly was down. But how could it be down? Squidward doesn't wear pants. But anyway, yeah. Then SpongeBob then just took the manager tag and just jumped in the air in joy, and that's how the movie ended. Yeah. Also, like, yeah, after the credits and all that, the show, like, the pirates were all still in the theater, and then just an usher told them that they had to leave, and yeah, they all agreed and just ended up leaving the theater. And so, yeah. So, as I said, 3.5 stars out of 4. I mean, it's just a really, really good movie, and I really do think that this is Nickelodeon's best film of all time. Alright, so yeah, that does it for my review of the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.